Lou Holtz and then Steve Spurrier back to back. I mean, that's like a media member's dream, getting to cover those guys. And, most South Carolina fans and people tied to the program, and probably people that covered the Gamecocks, never thought South Carolina would get one of those guys, much less both of them. Just talk about, covering South Carolina during that time, first with Lou Holtz, and of course, Steve Spurrier, which speaks for itself, the zingers. And I mean, he even threw out a media member that I'm sure you were friends with at one point. I mean, he was just all over the place, but it's great for content. It's great for stories. It's great for what, you and I do, obviously, but how cool was that covering Hall of Fame coaches, back to back like that?
It was wild. It was wild. I remember the day Lou Holtz was brought in for his press conference over at Williams-Brice Stadium. That's where they had his welcoming press conference. And it was off and running with Lou from that point forward. He was an interesting individual, to say the least. He was media savvy. He was media friendly, and, suffered through that winless first season. He still kept his wits about him. And then he looked like a genius the next 2 years. And he made South Carolina a really good football team those next 2 years. As we know, it got away from him after that point, and it did not end well for him in South Carolina. But he was always gracious to the media. He always knew your name, and he knew how to answer your questions, kind of knew what you were looking for, because that's the kind of person Lou Holtz was and still is. I mean, he's a very media savvy guy. He's always played the media well and done the media well as a media person himself. So, but that was a lot of fun, and it was good football. I covered both of those bowl games down in Tampa when they beat Ohio State, and that was pretty cool. And then, Spurrier was just a totally different bird, because, I mean, he too was obviously very media savvy, and he always liked to kind of direct the narrative, the way he wanted it to be portrayed. And he was very good at doing that. He knew how to take a question and sort of bend it this way, that way, whatever fit his answer. But you never, ever missed a Steve Spurrier media opportunity. Never, because you just never knew what he was going to say, what topics he was going to bring up. Eddie Fogler was like that as well. I loved covering Eddie Fogler when he was the basketball coach, because you never knew what topic he was going to go off on, whether it's going to be an opposing coach or Mike McGee or just something, football that got under his skin. Spurrier was the same way. Used to love, and see, Spurrier, the thing about Spurrier was he didn't care about, transferring. You want to transfer, I'll give you a free pass to go anywhere you want to go. People come and watch practice. You want to come and watch practice, you come and watch practice. He opened it up for everybody, opened it up for the media. And, there would be days they would try to have a schedule for him. Okay, these days he's going to talk to the media, but he never went by that. You'd be standing there. He'd be in his golf cart at the far end of the field. This is the old practice fields by the National Guard Armory. He'd drive over to the media. He'd hop out of the cart. Anybody need any quotes? Who needs quotes? And of course, we'd all just sort of, whoever we were talking to, we'd be doing players or coordinators. We just, it was over to him, and he would take on all questions. He loved it. He loved that stuff. So, and of course, the great ride of 2010, 2011, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Ton of fun. Couldn't touch them. They had great teams and really good coaches. They worked well together, and he was at his height, at South Carolina. He was at his height. He was, had him on the verge of doing something very special. And, probably they should have let him walk away when he was ready to walk away, and they wouldn't have had that messy ending. But he was a lot of fun to cover, and, never knew what he was going to say or what he was going to talk about. Never wanted to miss that.